Chu was Song Chen's kept woman, diligently and dutifully playing the role of the perfect lover for 3 years. The day Song Chen's first love returned to the country, Chu sensibly prepared to leave with dignity. However, where are you going? Are you rebelling? What will it take for you to stay? Chu blinked. Mr. Song, it will cost you more. The night was deep, and a sudden autumn rain fell heavily on Ning City. Inside the bedroom, the warmth of the heater enveloped the room. Chu lay beneath Song Chen, biting her lip without making a sound. Though her eyes were filled with desire, she kept her hand lightly covering her eyelids, avoiding eye contact with Song Chen. Afterwards, during a moment of tenderness, Song Chen leaned down to kiss her, but she turned her face away, slightly evading him. Song Chen frowned. This had been happening a lot lately. At first, he thought Chu was playing hard to get, but this had gone beyond any sense of playfulness. It was abnormal, very abnormal. In the past, Chu was clingy, sweet to the point of being sickening, always taking the initiative. Now, she wouldn't even let him kiss her in bed. What was going on? He turned her face back, his callous thumb gently wiping away her recent tears, trying to kiss her soft eyelids. Yet she slightly dodged again, as if she didn't want him to touch her at all. He couldn't help but feel a bit annoyed. What kind of tantrum are you throwing? With that, he pinned down her hands and kissed her forcefully as a form of punishment, but met her unwilling gaze. He looked down at her, gripping her chin, confronting her. Chu met his gaze for a dozen seconds, her expression unnatural, before saying, "Your technique is lacking." Any man would feel a bit hurt in their pride if told his technique was lacking. But who was Song Chen? His first reaction was that she was picking a fight. As one of Ning City's top patrons, Song Chen didn't get angry but instead laughed, asking kindly, "What did I do to offend you?" Chu wriggled out of his grip, grabbed her robe to cover herself, not even lifting her eyelids. "You're the boss. How could I be offended by you?" She said she wouldn't dare, but her actions showed she certainly dared. Song Chen exerted a bit of force, pulling her back into his arms, asking, "Why don't you let me kiss you anymore? What would it take for you to let me?" The arrogant canary replied casually, "It will cost you more." All right, winning the Best New Director award has really raised her value, hasn't it? Song Chen was stunned, but before he could respond, the canary glanced at him lightly. "If you want to, you do. If not, we'll part ways amicably." Success indeed made her bold. She never dared to speak to him like this before. Not just her, no one in all of Ning City dared to speak to Song Chen so arrogantly. Any romantic notions Song Chen had were gone. He was so furious he could barely speak, repeatedly saying, "Good for you. Really good for you. So brave." With that, he didn't bother to be a gentleman. No more hugging and coaxing. He grabbed his shirt and stormed out. The door slammed shut with a loud bang, and the room fell silent, leaving only the lingering scent of their passion. Chu lay on the bed, staring at the empty ceiling, thinking it was all over. A 2.5-year arrangement, and it ended like this. Feeling sore all over, her head aching, muscles aching, and even her eyes seemed to hurt. She finally decided to get up and wash off the stickiness. But just as she was about to lift the covers, the bedroom door opened again with a crash. Song Chen stood at the door, looking displeased, the chill of the autumn night clinging to him. Chu asked calmly, "Why are you back?" The man typed something on his phone, and Chu's phone on the bedside table chimed, showing a bank transfer notification. Song Chen threw his phone in front of her, pulling her out of the soft bed, and began unbuttoning his wrinkled shirt again. "Isn't it just more money? Is this enough?" Back when Chu first became Song Chen's little lover, things weren't like this. At that time, she wouldn't dare speak to him in such a manner, carefully choosing her words to suit his preferences. When she occasionally threw a little tantrum, she would just have red eyes and stay silent, looking pitiful and endearing. During those days, Song Chen enjoyed their nights so much that he almost didn't want to go to work in the mornings. He was always in high spirits, and those who didn't know might have thought that his heavily invested stocks were hitting the daily limit every day. Indeed, the market is efficient. What goes up must come down. As pleasant as he once felt, he was now equally moody and unpredictable. Recently, Song Chen's mood at the company was as gloomy as the calm before a storm. When Chu first met Song Chen, she wasn't yet the hotshot director she is now. She was still an unknown, often working on microfilms and short dramas. It was during one of those times that she was collaborating with Yanxing Entertainment, owned by Song Chen's sister, Song Yan, to discuss a script. Coincidentally, Song Chen was there to inspect the project. The Song family made their fortune in manufacturing, and Song Chen, with his keen business sense, had transformed the family business by early adopting smart technology, making a name for himself in the industrial robotics sector. Such an intelligent and handsome bachelor was naturally a well-known eligible bachelor in Ning City. As expected, Song Chen never disappointed, frequently changing his girlfriends more often than he changed his watches. Passing through countless flowers, Song Chen remained constant. Rumors had it that Yanxing Entertainment was half his harem, signing actresses he fancied. At that time, Chu was leaving the meeting room when she heard a voice behind her. "Stop." She halted and turned around to see Song Chen. He thought she was a newly signed actress of Song Yan's. Seeing her turn around, he looked at her for a few seconds before saying, I don't think I've seen you before." At that time, Chu had slightly curly long hair, looking very gentle from behind, but her face had a youthful appearance with round eyes, quite different from the usual type Yanxing signed, delicate, pitiful white flowers or cold beauties. Although Chu also looked like a white flower, she appeared to be a precious rose that you would want to hold carefully to avoid any damage. Song Chen was captivated at first glance. A staff member came out to smooth things over, saying she was a director for a collaborative short film. Chu was straightforward. She recognized the famous Song Chen and met his gaze, asking, "Why are you looking at me?" Song Chen waved his hand apologetically. "Sorry, I thought you were a new artist. My mistake." Looking directly at Song Chen, Chu paused for 2 seconds. Just as Song Chen was about to introduce himself, Chu spoke boldly. "Does it matter if I'm an artist or not? So, you stared at me for so long. Were you thinking of keeping me?" Song Chen was stunned, thinking his reputation for keeping actresses had spread throughout Ning City. Just as he was about to deny it, Chu hesitated for a moment and said, "It's not impossible, but we need to discuss the price." To his surprise, Song Chen nodded and agreed to such an offer from a director he was meeting for the first time. The staff member was dumbfounded, thinking that society had really declined. Song Chen, in the entertainment industry's big melting pot, had become more and more depraved. Before, it was said he liked little white flowers, and now even directors weren't spared. In broad daylight, they were discussing prices. It was truly the end of decency. And so, Chu moved into Song Chen's large apartment in the CBD, breaking the rumor that Song Chen never kept a lover for more than 6 months. Since then, Song Chen stopped keeping multiple actresses at the same time, frequently visiting her apartment. At first, she was a bit scared of Song Chen, but as they grew more familiar, she saw that despite his cold exterior, he was actually easy to get along with. This made her bold enough to act coquettishly. Chu was pampered like a canary, with money flowing into the films she directed, dominating the promotional pages. Thanks to Song Chen, Chu, a director, lived a more refined life than the actors. She never had to grovel at banquets for investments, and even when casting, she had a line of A-list stars to choose from. The reason was simple. Song Chen was always generous to his lovers. The actresses he had previously kept were all turned into top-tier stars. This time, his preference had changed to a director, but his generosity hadn't, making sure his little lover never suffered any grievances. After all the effort, she had transformed from a small-time director to a big-name director. Now, she was about to join the ranks of the top domestic directors, ready to take over the throne of the leading female directors in the country. Her personality had changed drastically, and it seemed like she wanted to distance herself from Song Chen. The next morning, when Song Chen woke up, he saw that Chu was still asleep. He reached out to touch her ear, causing her to groggily open her eyes. In her daze, Song-chin pinched her cheek, finding her soft and delicate, much like she was before. Her voice was a bit hoarse, and as the temperature outside had dropped, the room was also somewhat cold. She snuggled closer to Song-chin and asked, "What time is it?" Without waiting for a response, she reached out to grab her phone from the bedside table but accidentally picked up Song-chin's instead. Glancing at the screen, she saw an unread message. Song-chin, busy nibbling at her neck, didn't notice what she was doing. Yu-chu, having no sense of privacy invasion, opened the chat app. She first saw a message from Bai Xia, the top actress who had returned from abroad 2 weeks ago, asking if Song-chin was available at 9 a.m. on Monday to discuss an endorsement deal. Yu-chu's heart turned cold. She thought, forget about 9 a.m. on Monday. If she asked him at 3 a.m., he'd probably go. She then saw a message from Song-yen, who had sent several photos of new actresses, asking Song-chin to remember their names and faces. Song-yen had even gushed about how good-looking these new actresses were, comparing them to Bai Xia, and asked Song-chin what he thought. Yu-chu recalled the joke within the industry that Yenxing Entertainment was essentially a brothel for Song-chin. Thinking about this, she glanced at the photos again. She was instantly wide awake, placing Song-chin's phone back on the bedside table and attempting to get up. Song-chin pressed her back down. "It's the weekend. No need to get up so early." He pulled Yu-chu back down, intending to kiss her, but she turned away. Now fully awake, Song-chin frowned, his expression turning sour. He asked, "What do you mean by this?" His early morning amorous mood was dampened, and he was starting to get irritated. "Igava you money. Now I can't even touch you." Yu-chu replied, "Money and goods are exchanged. Last night was last night. Today is today." Song-chin let out a cold laugh, saying fine several times before asking her coldly how much it would cost for a kiss. She casually mentioned a number, and Song-chin immediately grabbed his phone and transferred a large sum, saying, "This month's amount is all here." He then leaned down to kiss her, the action rough and fierce. His sharp teeth grazed her lip, and the taste of iron soon filled their mouths, bitter and salty. Song-chin's grip on her shoulder was tight, so tight that it hurt. Song-chin was busy even on weekends. He had to go back to the company in the afternoon for a project progress meeting. Standing in front of the dressing mirror putting on his clothes, he glanced at Yu-chu, who was half lying on the sofa playing with her phone. He remembered how, in the past, when he got up early for work in the winter, no matter how early it was or how cold it was, Yu-chu would get up, rubbing her eyes, to keep him company. She used to help him tie his tie and ask what time he would be home in the evening. But now, she barely acknowledged him, seemingly eager for him to leave for work and get out of her sight. Seeing Yu-chu's indifferent face, Song-chin couldn't hold back and asked, "What's wrong with you lately? Are you trying to start something?" Yu-chu looked up at his displeased face and retorted, "How dare I? Is Song always dissatisfied with me? Planning to break up?" She found it amusing. Everyone in the industry knew that Song-chin never kept a lover for more than 6 months. The fact that they had been together for almost 3 years was already impressive. Moreover, his beloved top actress had finally returned from her time in the international spotlight. Instead of dealing with these issues with her, he was here with Yu-chu, arguing about trivial matters. Did he have too much free time? Song-chin, his face darkening, stepped closer and looked down at her, asking, "Do you really want to break up?" "Not really. But if you're tired of me, we can part on good terms," Yu-chu said, putting down her phone and speaking gently. Song-chin, showing signs of anger, said, "Yu-chu, do you think you can just treat me as a convenient ATM?" Sitting up straight, Yu-chu responded, "Isn't our relationship exactly that? To put it bluntly, you could be considered a high-class client." She caught the underlying point in Song-chin's words. "Oh, I see. I shouldn't have said that. Whether we stay together or part ways is up to you. I shouldn't presume to understand your intentions." Song-chin's face grew colder by the second. He thought to himself, "Who's the client here? It seems like I'm the one paying for her attention." Furiously, he threw out one last sentence. "Remember, it's up to me when we part ways." Then, he slammed the door and left. In the days that followed, Song Chin and Yu Chu's interactions became strictly transactional, living up to her words about a clear exchange of money and services. Every day after work, Song Chin would stand at the apartment door and transfer money to Yu Chu before asking if he could come in. Yu Chu, having picked up some bad habits from the entertainment industry, not only set clear prices, but also raised them monthly. Each service cost more than the last. She even employed scarcity tactics, sometimes not being home and telling Song Chin she had to work late, suggesting he find another place for the night. Their relationship became purely businesslike, resembling a retail transaction. Hugging, kissing, sleeping together, all had their prices, transparent and fair, but increasingly expensive. At the end of the month, Song Chin finally cornered Yu Chu, roughly kissing her and leaving bite marks. She cried out in pain and tried to pull away, but he retorted, "Isn't this a transaction? I've paid. Why are you avoiding me?" Yu Chu touched the marks on her neck. "Even someone being paid has rights. How am I supposed to go out looking like this?" Song Chin sneered. "Rights? You're talking about rights while taking my money? Consider yourself lucky I haven't done worse." Yu Chu stopped resisting, letting Song Chin do as he pleased, resembling a lifelike doll. Only when he seemed satisfied with the marks he left did he ease up a bit. Leaning on his shoulder, Yu Chu casually asked, "Yan Xing Entertainment signed a few new talents. Which one caught your eye?" Song Chen's temper flared again, irritated by her indifferent attitude. "Why do you care which one I like? Am I short of houses? I can keep one in each and visit whichever I feel like." He asked sarcastically, "Got a problem with that?" Yu Chu only responded with a nonchalant as if it were a casual chat, then closed her eyes, drifting off to sleep. No problem. They all seem lovely and quite endearing. Seeing her indifference, Song Chin became even more agitated. "Yeah, they're all quite understanding." Yu Chu, eyes still closed, did not respond, leaving Song Chin more frustrated. He shook her awake, staring at her and asking, "Why are you bringing up these people?" "Just making conversation. Can I even comment on the newcomers?" "Comment? You?" Song Chin laughed mockingly. "Who do you think made it possible for those top actors to bow to you?" Yu Chu looked up coldly. "Thanks to you, Song Chin. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am today." Song Chen's tone was sharp, resembling his ruthless business persona. "You better remember what you just said. Don't forget it." Song Chen's subordinates were dealing with their boss's perpetual bad mood, while Yu Chu's film crew wasn't having an easy time either. Despite her youth and patience on set, recently, Yu Chu had been short-tempered, even berating a producer harshly one day. Her younger cousin, visiting the set, was surprised by her outburst. "You seem upset lately," he commented. "How do you know?" Yu Chu retorted. Though she had never been known for her temper, her behavior towards Song Chin had been unusually deferential. With their relationship strained, her natural temperament as a spoiled young lady had resurfaced and was hard to suppress. The cousin, a notorious playboy, threw a flirtatious glance at a passing actress and advised, "If you're having trouble with a boyfriend, you should consider softening up. Silent treatment isn't a good idea." Yu Chu gave him a skeptical look, but he continued flirting and casually lecturing her on relationship dynamics. "No one's perfect. People need to work things out." After pondering his advice, Yu Chu decided to reflect on her behavior. After wrapping up work, she drove to Song Chen's office. Recognizing her, Song Chen's assistant promptly led her upstairs. The office had a modern, minimalist style with several state-of-the-art displays and a cold, tech-driven aesthetic, much like Song Chin himself. As she waited, sipping her coffee, she noticed a surprising visitor, Bai Xia. Initially standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, Yu Chu heard someone behind her exclaim, "Hey." Turning around, she was momentarily blinded by the light and couldn't recognize the person. Bai Xia approached, studying her closely with a smile. "Pretty girl," she complimented. Yu Chu stiffened. This was her first close encounter with Bai Xia, and she was momentarily stunned, resembling a clueless small animal. Before she could respond, Song Chin appeared. He seemed surprised to see them together, quickly stepping between them. "Bai Xia, glancing between Yu and Song-chun, teased, "Is this your hidden treasure? So cute. Let me touch her." Yu instinctively stepped back, but Song-chun blocked Bai Xia's hand, coldly stating, "Don't touch." Frowning, he asked Yu, "Why are you here suddenly?" His tone was unnatural, mirroring Yu's own discomfort. She had intended to reconcile, but her timing seemed off. Song-chun then told her, "Wait outside for a bit." It dawned on her that someone as dazzling as Bai Xia was out of her league. Before leaving the office, Yu cast another look at the famous actress. Bai Xia was truly stunning, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun, making her appear even more radiant. Yu reminisced about the first time she saw Bai Xia. She had been beautiful, stunning enough to secure a leading role based solely on her looks. Years ago, while still a student, Yu once saw Bai Xia visiting Song-chun at their school. The two, both with striking Eastern features, sat together in an ordinary campus cafe, looking like a perfect match, a striking sight. Watching from afar, Yu couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw Bai Xia speaking animatedly while Song-chun, though disapproving, ultimately sighed with mild concern, saying, "If you think it's okay, it's okay. Let me know if you need any help." It was so endearing. Yu had never heard Song-chun speak to anyone else that way. With others, he was always strictly business and commanding. With Yu, even though she was his most favored pet, she never had the upper hand. Song-chun dictated their plans. If he wanted Cantonese cuisine, Cantonese it was, and she wouldn't get even a taste of Sichuan hot pot. Yu stood at the office door, closed off from all sounds and activities inside. As she stared at the shut door, memories from her school days flooded back, making her eyes sting with unshed tears. Liking Song-chun had started so long ago that the memory of it had almost faded, leaving behind only the lingering feeling of a heart once stirred. Song-chun always believed they first met 2 or 3 years ago during a random encounter at Yenqing Entertainment. But that wasn't true. Yu had first seen him much earlier. It was at a banquet during her teenage years. She had caught a distant glimpse of the young and composed Song-chun engaged in conversation, and from that moment, her feelings had taken root. Yu's parents didn't have a happy marriage. It was a business alliance, though they always managed to put on a facade of harmony in public. From a young age, Yu understood that for a businessman, money and profit came first, with everything else, including marriage, being mere accessories and support for their career. But then she met Song-chun. It's a misfortune to meet someone like him so young, leading to an outcome like hers, knowing it's futile yet still pursuing it, recognizing love's cheapness, but still falling for it. She applied to Song-chun's school, majored in robotics, and mastered its complex subjects, walking the paths he once walked, earning the university's toughest degree, all to catch a glimpse of him, even just once or twice, as a teaching assistant. Song-chun knew none of this. After he returned to the country, by the time Yu graduated and came back, Song-chun had already become a well-known figure in Ning City, dubbed Young Song. As Young Song turned into Song, his revolving door of women continued, each a third or fourth-tier starlet. This led Yu to join the entertainment industry. Gossip was rampant in Ning City, and Yu heard that despite the numerous women, Song-chun's greatest unrequited love was Bai Xia, his childhood friend who had risen to fame early. People said Bai Xia owed her success partly to Song-chun's support. But as the saying goes, his heart is like the moon, but the moon shines on the ditch. Bai Xia had publicly declared she had a partner, a mystery that media had tried but failed to solve, though it was clear the person wasn't Song-chun. This heartbreak supposedly fueled Song-chun's frequent changes in partners, each bearing a slight resemblance to Bai Xia. Even Yu benefited from this resemblance. Their first formal meeting left Song-chun momentarily stunned by her hairstyle, a deliberate choice by Yu to mimic Bai Xia's look from a recent magazine cover. Long, slightly curled hair in a light shade. Song-chun had no idea about her long hair, her plunge into the entertainment industry, or the meticulous planning behind their first encounter. Initially, Yu intended to enjoy a brief fling with Song-chun, but as time passed, she wanted more. Seeking her cousin's advice, she asked, "Among all your flings, who has stayed the longest?" Her cousin named someone, and Chu inquired, "Why?" "Because she's the most sensible and loyal. I provide her with resources, and she gives me peace of mind. It's a mutually beneficial relationship," he explained. "Feelings are dangerous in such arrangements," he continued. "Talking money leaves room for negotiation. Once feelings get involved, it's best to end it quickly. Don't give them false hopes." "Why not involve feelings?" Chu pressed. He laughed, as if hearing a naive question. "Feelings are the least valuable thing. Better to spend time negotiating a contract." Chu eventually understood that neither the business world nor the entertainment industry left room for genuine feelings. She recalled another time at this office door, partially ajar then, with Song Chun and his sister Song Yan inside. Song Yan chastised him, "You're not getting any younger. Mom and Dad are urging you to settle down. This thing with Chu isn't right." Song Chun's low voice barely carried, "We'll see in a few years." After another brief exchange, Song Chen's words were barely audible. "Just having fun for now." Having fun, huh? Their 2 to 3 years together were merely a pastime for him. Back then, Chu pretended not to hear and quietly waited in the meeting room for Song Chen. But now, standing at the same office door, she knew that inside was Bai Xia, Song Chen's true desire. According to foreign media, Bai Xia's return to China had two purposes: to reignite her film career and to heal from a breakup, leaving her past behind to find solace at home. Bai Xia returned to China, partnered with Yenqing Entertainment, and reconnected with Song Chen. It seemed Song Chen was about to fulfill his long-held wish. Chu didn't shed any tears. She wasn't one to cry easily. However, the dryness in her eyes seeped into her heart, leaving a trace of bitterness. She sighed softly, comforting herself that it was merely a transaction. She got to sleep with the man she desired and made some money out of it. What was there to be unhappy about? Song Chen wasn't one for sweet talk, nor was he particularly gentle in bed. But all the pain he inflicted, whether physical or emotional, was something he paid for. She accepted the money, providing value for every penny. It was also something she willingly endured. After all, she wasn't someone who needed love. As a director, an investor, and a profit-driven individual, she was supposed to be a businessperson. Sometimes, she just acted on impulse. She simply strayed off course by liking Song Chen for so many years. Song Chen spent 15 minutes finally seeing off Bai Xia, a money-grubbing star. Bai Xia had been haggling with him, and Song Chen, tired of the back and forth, urged her to sign the contract. Eventually, he signed an expensive endorsement deal and unceremoniously kicked her out. He then turned to take Chu to dinner, only to have his assistant inform him, "Miss Yu left a few minutes ago." He checked his phone and saw a message from Chu saying there was an issue on set and she had to leave. For almost a month after that, Song Chen didn't see Chu. She claimed the film was at a critical stage and that she had to go into the mountains for some crucial shots, leaving her nearly out of contact. Coincidentally, Song Chen had a project that required him to travel to the southern hemisphere to negotiate a deal. By the time he had a chance to find her in the mountains, it was winter. Song Chen made the long journey without adjusting to the time difference. As soon as he landed from New Zealand, he headed straight to the film set. After several hours of driving, he arrived to find the set deserted. His face darkened as he called a familiar producer, only to learn that Chu's film had wrapped up long ago. He immediately dialed Chu's number. "Where are you?" he demanded. The background noise on her end was quite loud. "I'm still in the mountains." "The signal here isn't great," she replied. Song Chen looked at the desolate mountain and listened to Chu's pretense of being the perfect lover. "What's up, Song? I thought you were in New Zealand. When did you come back? Are you calling me over?" Song Chen felt as if all his passion had been wasted. "I'm coming back today. When will you be back at the apartment?" Chu hesitated. Her voice was usually cool but always took on a sweeter tone when speaking to him. She seemed to ponder for a long time before finally saying, "I still have a few more days of shooting. I'll try to come back as soon as possible." Song Chen hung up in silence, feeling utterly disheartened. Back then, Song Yen had warned him that people in the entertainment industry, especially directors, were complex. She said that directors, even more than actors, were cunning and calculative, always seeking their own benefit. She had advised him that it would be better to support a small-time actress than to get involved with someone like Chu. Song Chin hadn't believed her then, but now he was starting to. However, he was stubborn. After returning to the city, he decided to set up a game of real-life CS, Counter-Strike. If he couldn't catch Chu today, he joked to himself, he would put a wanted notice with her face on every LED screen in the CBD to find her. But as soon as he drove into the city, a childhood friend called him. Dinner tonight? Without hesitation, Song Chin declined. No, I have plans. His friend was surprised. I heard from your assistant that you just got back from New Zealand. What could be so urgent? Are you seeing your lover? Song Chen, frustrated while stuck at a red light, replied, Is that a problem? You could see her later, his friend suggested. When the light turned green, Song Chen hit the gas pedal. Later. My queen is in a bad mood lately. He gritted his teeth. Someone outside must have upset her, and now she's taking it out on me. I'm going to find her. His friend was incredulous. She's taking it out on you, and you're still going to her? Can't you take a break and hang out with your friends? Forget it, Song Chin said. If she's in a bad mood, I have to placate her. His friend rolled his eyes on the other end of the line and finally admitted, There's a business dinner tonight with some of the big shots from your city. I need backup. Otherwise, I'm afraid they'll drink me under the table. Come with me, and I'll give you advice on how to woo your girl as thanks. Reluctantly, Song Chin agreed and ended up at the dinner. Song Chin was merely an accessory at the dinner, given his focus on the cutting-edge manufacturing industry and having little in common with the food industry. After several rounds of drinks and finishing the negotiations, the group of older men, their ages spanning 2 to 3 decades, stumbled out of the restaurant arm in arm, only to run into Chu approaching them. Song Chen, walking at the back, was the first to spot her, immediately sobering up. Chu didn't notice him at first, heading straight towards another figure, addressing them at the same time as Song Chen. What brings you here? Dad, why did you drink so much? Chu turned to see Song Chen, her face instantly paling. Song, what are you doing here? Song Chen looked at Mr. Yu, his mind buzzing as he replayed Chu's earlier dad. Even slightly drunk, Song Chen wasn't so out of it to mistake Chu for recognizing a godfather with the same surname. Both their faces were pale and unpleasant. Mr. Yu, half drunk, cheerfully patted Song Chen and his friend on the shoulders. Shou, let me introduce you. This is Mr. Song, and this is Mr. Tang. Then he turned to his old friends. This is my daughter, though she's not involved much in the family business. One of their old family friends recognized Chu and smiled. Long time no see, Shou. I heard you've been making movies lately. Doing well? Mr. Yu laughed heartily. She's always dabbling in something. My daughter is a handful, as you can see. A handful. Song Chen looked at the pale-faced Chu, completely sober now, feeling like he had been struck by lightning. Ning City isn't that big, and even without cooperation, gossip and rumors spread like wildfire. Years ago, it was rumored that Mr. Yu, the head of the Yu family, described his youngest daughter as very rebellious. He wanted her to study something practical like economics or management or even an art-related major, but she insisted on going to the US to study something obscure like robotics engineering because she thought the name sounded cool. Song Chen, having made his fortune in robotics, naturally heard such gossip at dinner parties. He found it amusing but didn't pay much attention to it, only joking that there was someone as crazy as him who wanted to study robotics. It's a tough major to graduate from, he would say, laughing. It's so hard that just understanding the terminology makes you lose a handful of hair. At one point, he even asked, So, where did Mr. Yu's daughter end up working after graduating? Someone answered, Mr. Yu's daughter is whimsical. After graduation, she wanted to pursue a dream in the entertainment industry, even thinking about debuting as an idol. But she got a good scolding from Mr. Yu. No one knows if she's gone back to take over the family business or just living it up as a rich second generation. Song-chin remembered asking Yu-chu once about where she went to university. She said the US. He asked which school, and she replied, a no-name school. Just went to get a diploma. The alcohol buzz seemed to clear his mind. Song-chin finally remembered that when he was a teaching assistant at Yu University, there was a Chinese student who would occasionally sit in on his classes. But he had been too busy then to notice such details in the large lecture hall. No wonder she looked so familiar that the first time he saw her, he thought she looked familiar. Turns out they had met long ago. Outside, snow started to fall, and the cold wind blew, chilling him to the bone. Song-chin stared at Yu-chu's figure, his face full of disbelief. Yet he managed to stay rational, following Mr. Yu and Yu-chu step by step, gentlemanly helping Mr. Yu into the car. Yu-chu was about to get into the car herself when Song-chin, looking composed and graceful, grabbed her wrist firmly. Song-chin's expression was calm, but his grip was strong. Yu-chu knew her wrist would be bruised by the time she got home. Song-chin asked her in a low voice, Mr. Yu's daughter? Yu-chu, do you think it's fun to deceive me? Yu-chu met his gaze, unsure how to respond. She deflected, we can talk about this later. I need to take my dad home first. But Song-chin didn't let her off. He pressed, you studied robotics? Graduated from Yu University. Is that right? This time, Yu-chu's expression changed from calm to slightly angry. She yanked her hand away, quickly got into the car, slammed the door shut, and sped away with a stomp on the gas. Song-chin returned to his apartment in a daze, overwhelmed by the amount of information he had just received. Even with his high IQ, it was difficult to make sense of everything at once. But Song-chin was not the type to let things go. Any opponent who gave him even the slightest bit of leverage would soon find themselves undone. As his thoughts calmed down, he began to analyze everything about Yu-chu, examining their relationship piece by piece. He thought about their everyday moments in the apartment, Yu-chu's tentative kisses, and sharing the sweetness of a dessert together. He remembered the figure at Yu University and the comment from his friend, the Yu family's daughter is rebellious. She insisted on going to the US to study some obscure field like robotics engineering. And what happened next? Why did she become a director? He had asked Yu-chu why she became a director. Her answer was that she originally wanted to be an actress, but her family strongly opposed it. So, she gave up on being an actress, but not on her dream of being in the entertainment industry and turned to directing instead. The more he thought about it, the more he feared the answer he was piecing together. Was it because of him? Was he involved? There were too many questions he wanted to ask, too many answers he needed. He called Yu-chu, but she hung up on him. He then sent her a message, demanding that she come to the apartment immediately, or he would go to the Yu family's house with a banner accusing her of being heartless and unfaithful. While waiting for her, Song-chin paced around the room, and his eyes fell on the safe in the corner of the bedroom. He recalled how Yu-chu had insisted on buying the safe and wondered what kind of valuable jewelry or trinkets she had put in there. Having read numerous melodramatic TV scripts from Inching Entertainment, he imagined the safe might contain love letters Yu-chu had written to him instead of jewels. Song-chin, without any qualms about privacy invasion, went ahead and opened the safe. But he was sorely disappointed. There were no love letters, not even jewelry. The safe was crammed with cash. The bills were not neatly stacked, showing signs that someone had counted them by hand. Song-chin stared at the money, deep in thought. The apartment door opened, and Yu-chu walked in with a blank expression. She looked around the dimly lit room, seeing Song-chin sitting by the sofa. Song-chin was staring at the piles of cash he had taken out, but when he heard her, he looked up, meeting the face that had captured his heart for years. Yu-chu asked, "What couldn't wait until tomorrow?" "I want answers. I can't wait until tomorrow." "What do you want to know? That I deceived you, played you for a fool? Or that I cheated you out of your money and your affection?" Yu-chu lowered her gaze, calmly admitting her faults. "It's true, I was wrong. I was mischievous and playful." She was interrupted by Song-chin, who softly asked, "I want to know if you love me." It was a question, but from his mouth, It sounded like a statement. This time, it was Song Chin who was composed, while Yu Chu's face turned pale. Yu Chu froze like a cat caught by the throat, unable to make a sound. When did it start? Song Chen's eyes were fixed intently on her as he moved closer. His tall shadow loomed over her, creating an overwhelming sense of pressure. Song Chen's seemingly light question was a thunderclap to Yu Chu. Her face paled as a long-hidden emotion was suddenly exposed and shattered. She closed her eyes, accepting the reality. And you? When did you find out? Not long ago. Just moments ago. Upon seeing Yu Chu's change in expression, he had confirmed his suspicions. If you've already guessed, what more is there to ask? Yu Chu's voice dwindled, struggling to speak. So what? Did you call me here just to clarify things in person? Her tone was resigned, as if a businessman should measure all emotions with money. As an outstanding businessman, Song Chen's rationality was evidently sharper. Yu Chu met his gaze, and after a prolonged silence, Song Chen sighed first. Why can't we talk things out properly? He moved closer and touched the back of her hand, trying to hold it. Darling, it's hard for me too if you don't clarify things. Song Chen was a typical engineering professional, known for his patience with project plans. It was rare for him to use such affectionate terms, but here he was. Yu Chu's eyes turned red instantly, and she looked away from him. But Song Chen seemed unusually patient, gently coaxing her. Why have you been avoiding me lately? Yu Chu still said nothing. Song Chen continued on his own. I'm happy that you like me. Yu Chu was stunned. For a long time, she had only dared to show a compliant and obedient side in front of Song Chen, never expressing any possessiveness. It was only later that she dared to make a few demands and take the initiative to hold his hand. Each step was taken with trepidation, fearing that Song Chen would sense her feelings and be put off, causing the relationship to end abruptly. She furrowed her brows. You're happy about it? Song Chen hesitated before speaking honestly. Because I like you too. Yu Chu was incredulous. Like? Are you just playing with me? Who's playing with you? Song Chen was equally incredulous. You said so yourself. Song Chen was at a loss. When did I say I was just playing with you? It seems like you're the one playing with me. Yu Chu looked at him suspiciously, still with red eyes, and repeated verbatim what she had heard. Song Chen was rarely anxious. He couldn't remember his exact words at the time, but after a long while, he finally recalled, if you overheard something, why did you only hear half of it? At that time, Song Yan had urged him to settle down, but he had waved it off. Let's talk about it in a few years. Yu Chu is still young and playful. If we talk about marriage now, she might be scared off. Let her enjoy herself first. Yu Chu had taken that and twisted it to suit her narrative, which made her feel wronged. Feeling down, Yu Chu grasped the key point. Me? And me? Who else? Song Chen asked. Bai Xia. Song Chen was stunned. Everything finally fell into place. No wonder Yu Chu's attitude had changed so drastically. What had Yu Chu been hiding all this time? Did she think they would part ways sooner or later? Was she like a startled bird at any sign of trouble, using money to measure the pain he caused her? Did she look at the stacks of cash and feel sad, only to comfort herself by saying it was just a transaction, and the money was something Song Chen had given her? Looking at the cash, Song Chen felt a pang. It turned out that loving someone also meant sharing their pain. He realized Yu Chu had been preemptively putting on a facade of being mercenary to cover up her reluctance to leave. His expression changed several times. Seeing Yu Chu's eyes no longer red, he was left conflicted and uneasy. Yu Chu, noticing his hesitation, grew cold and took a step back. Did I guess right? Seeing Song Chen's face turn disdainful, as if he had swallowed a fly, she could not help but feel more hurt. What's so great about being involved with a workaholic? Am I out of my mind? Besides, she's not into men. Bai Xia and he were not childhood friends. They were more like childhood acquaintances. Bai Xia had come out as gay when she was 17 or 18, and soon after gaining fame, she had married someone overseas. It was indeed quite a scandal. Both he and Bai Xia liked women, and they had similar tastes in women. So, He particularly disliked Bai Xia's interest in Chu, who would be pleased to see their beloved being coveted by someone else. Song Chen pulled Chu into an embrace, not giving her any chance to back away. "What else is making you unhappy? Speak up." He sighed. "I didn't expect that after so many dramas, you'd have so many scripts in your mind. I don't even know how many facts you've distorted." After a long silence, Chu asked, "How many people have you supported?" This time, she had the courage to confront him, her eyes meeting his. Song Chen gently touched the corner of her eye with his finger. "None. Not a single person." He was genuinely wronged. As a diligent and upright engineer, the only women he interacted with at work were the cleaning staff and the receptionists. Yet, he ended up entangled with a sister who runs an entertainment company. This sister not only was a close friend of Bai Xia, but after promoting Bai Xia, she had a penchant for signing similar types of young actresses. Song Yan, using her brother without hesitation, turned him into a shield for her artists, preventing others from taking advantage of them. The cost was ruining his reputation. Thus, Song Chen, a young boss devoted solely to his work, found himself inexplicably labeled as a gold master with a memorable old flame and a penchant for indulgence. At this moment, he deeply regretted it. He said, "I've told you before, there's no one else." Unfortunately, Chu had misunderstood. "I thought you meant there was only me recently." Song Chen was speechless. Well, he could only blame himself for not explaining things clearly enough, for not having the skill to communicate thoroughly. Song Chen sighed again, not knowing how many times today. "Back then, when I saw you, I wanted to ask if you had a boyfriend and to pursue you slowly. But as soon as you spoke, you asked if I was supporting anyone. A chance fell from the sky, and I really could not take it. Indeed, I was too hasty. If I had known, I would have taken it step by step and pursued you slowly." He lowered his head to kiss Chu. This time, Chu didn't dodge or mention money. She accepted the kiss, even more cooperatively. It felt the same as before, yet different, as if this time, it could fill Song Chen's entire heart. The red in the corners of Chu's eyes changed from sorrowful to slightly lustful. Song Chen brushed away the moisture from her eyes, then said, "Fair is fair. How about you support me?" Chu was stunned. "What's there to support about you?" Her voice was muffled, sounding somewhat coquettish and lacking impact. "Shouldn't I just go after some young men? At least I'm a new director. A wave of handsome young models would come with a wave of my hand." She thought Song Chen would respond, "With your ability, who else would you rely on?" Instead, Song Chen said seriously, "It's convenient for me. You're familiar with me, and if the user experience isn't good, it can be improved anytime. And I'm cheap. $2 for a month, $5 for a year, and $100 for lifetime use." Song Chen pulled a bill from the stack of cash and asked, "Deal?" Chu, holding the thin corner of the bill, finally nodded. Chu, who didn't understand how to interact, finally dared to express her feelings clearly. Song Chen, who didn't know how to pursue someone, finally understood how to hold onto her hand. Two people who didn't understand love finally learned to love each other well.